The movie begins in the 17th century and Spain is a great empire in decline, with constant wars and internal strife. The main character of the movie, Viggo Alatriste, a courageous soldier in His Majesty's service, who was fighting the battle against the enemies of the empire in the cold lands of Flanders in the winter of 1622. He orders the assault on the Dutch, destroying their guns, burning tents, and killing a large number of their soldiers. However, one of their men wakes his men by sounding the war horn. The Dutch began to visit their military facility and engage in combat alongside them. The Dutch quickly overwhelm the group. They flee the battlefield and make their way back to the stream of water. During their journey back, Lope Balboa, along with one of his allies, is fatally wounded in a Dutch ambush. He pays attention to his friend's final wish, promising to fulfill it by taking care of his kid Inigo and keeping him away from a career as a soldier. After a year, Alatriste comes back to Madrid and puts Inigo, Lope's small son, under his care. He never lets him go from him. It has now brought him to a bar where they all drink while Inigo receives language and math instruction from a teacher. A few moments afterward, a man gestures for Alatriste to step outside. When he arrives, he asks what it is. He asks him to accompany him, saying that someone has a safe job for him and wants to meet him. He assures him that the work has little risk and that he can make big money. After some time, he takes him along with another man, Gualterio Malatesta, to another man in the black hat, Luis de Alcazar. He starts telling him that two foreigners will enter Madrid on horseback alone this Friday night. They have to kill them, and they will be paid the remaining gold after completing the mission. Alatriste asks him who will confirm the dead bodies and pay the remaining amount. Emilio Boccanegra shows his face to them and says he is the president of the Council of the Inquisition, and that the two heretics must die. After that, they go and find the heretics at the entrance of Madrid. Viggo Alatriste and Malatesta fight to kill them, but Diego plays a double role. He saves the heretics from Malatestas, saying that they have swords and fought well, so they cannot be the princes. The next moment, a summons to the palace is sent to Diego. Conde de Godalmedina, the king's secretary, arrives and informs him that he is in a terrible problem, because there will be a commotion in Madrid when the populace learns that their guests were attacked. He tells him he doesn't know who commissioned him when he is asked. He replies that he hunts alone and that he does not know the other man when he is now asked who the other man was. Conde stands up and asks why he did not kill them. He responds that he trusted his instincts and that the decision would be made by him. The monarch, however, is made aware of the planned ambush on the Prince of Wales and the Prince of Buckingham, and they have ordered an investigation to find the culprits. He tells him that he has called the Council of the State and the Committee of Theologians to give their opinion to him regarding the possible marriage of Princess Maria and the Prince of Wales. Viggo Alatriste goes home and asks Inigo to grab him some wine. He hurries across the street to get that, but he hits Angelica de Alquazar on purpose. She asks him to carry her to her house while acting as though she is unable to walk. Concerning him and his uncle Alatriste, she inquires. In reality, she was spying on him, and when she runs into her uncle Luis de Alquazar, she begs him to hold off on killing Alatriste for the time being since she has other ideas. Diego is spotted by some palace soldiers when they enter the market after a while. They arrest him in the name of the Inquisition. One of the soldiers searches him for the hidden weapons, but leaves him with one tied to his ankle. They take him to the same president of the Council of the Inquisition, Emilio Boccanegra, who hired him to kill the heretics. He says he has aided the enemies of God in Spain. Due to his actions, he will face the worst torments in hell. But on earth, he will pay with his mortal flesh. He says his life is no longer worth a fig and he is a corpse. He asks him to leave, saying that God's wrath will find him. Upon entering the street, he notices Malatesta and becomes alert to use his concealed blade in combat. He claims that his goal is to save the man, not to murder him. In order to protect himself from the unidentified individuals, he hands him his revolver. He returns his rifle to them and scratches him, telling him that this will help him remember him after they do not hurt them. The secretary approaches him the following day and informs him that a significant individual wants to meet him. When he is asked if the situation is worse, he replies that he is unsure, but that the man is the Count de Olivares. He requests that he be more truthful with him than he is. He notices his boots and says before visiting Olivares, he must buy some new boots. He says if he needs money for the boots, he can ask his finance assistant. The next day, he goes to see the man, but with the same boots. Olivares interrogates him, starting with his career as a captain in the army. Now he asks him if it is true that he saved the English travelers when his companion was about to kill them. He wanted to know his recruiters. He says he does not remember anything, and he has a terrible memory. He says he can help him if he cooperates with him. Viggo Alatriste ignores him. Now Olivares asks him if his boots are a sign of lack of means or soldierly arrogance. He says he does both of these. While Alatriste is ordered to travel to Flanders and win additional wars for the king, Olivares summons Don Luis and commands him to go to the Indies to serve the monarch. He is a courageous and inconspicuous soldier. Therefore, he hopes he doesn't die here. He asks him to assist him in understanding the map of Flanders that he has shown him. He claims that it is a foreign land inhabited by odd people that hate and dread them. He has to get that land no matter what Olivares says. A year after the Spanish siege, in 1625, the action moves to Breda. Viggo Alatriste is fighting battles with other soldiers. They are having a hard time finding the Dutch shooters in the trenches. When their captain comes with the new orders, a soldier stands up and asks him why they have not got their 5 months' pay. He says they all have not received the payment, neither the field marshal nor the General Spinola, but they are fighting continuously. He reads the orders that they have to go down to the tunnels. Then, they're in the tunnels, repairing the bombs beneath the Dutch fortifications. As one of their troops gets a peek, Alatriste kills him. After making their way back to the trench, the captain appears and declares victory, because Breda has given up. In Madrid, Inigo finds a letter from Olivares 10 years later. When they arrive, he hands it to Diego. He queries him on what transpired in Madrid during his absence fighting the war. He updates him on his pals and some historical occurrences in the nation. He takes him to the opera, where they see a performance in which Inigo plans to elope with Angelica, but she changes her mind right before they leave. Alatriste has a romance with actress Maria de Castro. Because she was disappointed that she failed to marry him, she became the lover of King Philip IV. She shows him the large earrings which the king gifted to her. He says she doesn't know his love for her, but he cannot marry her, as she is an actress, but he will kill anyone who tries to approach her, and hence she will be a widow later. At night, friend and secretary of the king, Guadal Medina comes to see Diego again. In the name of the king, he argues, they must ambush a ship carrying gold. 2,000 unreported gold ingots are on board the ship Virgin de Regla. He tells him the ship will anchor offshore and move the boat to a Flemish boat before offloading. They will apprehend them there. Viggo Alatriste then puts his troops in a boat and heads in the direction of the ship. They encounter opposition once they reach the ship. The ship's crew started shooting at them. They quickly defeated them, murdering their men. Upon discovering the gold boxes, they discover clay bricks within. They suspect a friend of Guadal Medina, who came with them there. They actually wanted them to kill the crew, so that they could kill them afterward. But Diego smartly draws his dagger and kills him first. In the next scene, Viggo Alatriste and Inigo talk about life, love, and betrayal. He says the man loves once or more but stops eventually. So be careful with Angelica, because she is a treacherous woman. After some time, he goes back to Madrid, where the king appreciates his bravery and fighting skills. He offers him a gold chain as a gift for visiting him. Conversely, Inigo encounters Angelica in the evening. She claims she lost most of the men who were close to her, because she is a dangerous lady. He claims that their situation is different. He tells her again how much he loves her. She coerces him into enlisting in the army and serving as a palace guard. She claims to have discussed his candidacy with the queen. She declared, "He's dead to me from now on," and walked away after he declined to accept the position. After a while, Alatriste visits a gold dealer and displays the gold chain the king had given him. She says she cannot pay that much money to him, as it was very costly. He says he didn't come there to sell it. He wanted to exchange it with some other necklace. She says he could exchange this chain for several necklaces. He replies to her that he only needed one. She offers him her best necklace in exchange for that chain. He goes straight from there to meet his love and actress, Maria. When he reaches there, he sees another man from the palace there. He warns him that he should not chase her, as she is interested in the king. He plans to go to her other place to meet her, but a guard stops him. He says he wants to meet Maria, but he refuses to let him pass. He said she cannot and will not meet him. Diego gets angry and intends to fight with him. He asks him to move aside or he will kill him. Eventually, they get into a fight there. As the king exits her home, she recognizes Alatriste and shuts the door. Luis, Angelica's uncle, informs that he will set up her marriage to Guadal Medina, the count of the palace. Additionally, he tells her that the king is considering replacing Olivares with him. After being startled, she bolts to her room and sends Inigo a note. She informs him that her uncle and the queen desire for her to wed the count. However, her heart belongs to him alone, and she wants to flee to Naples with him. In order to take her with him at night, she writes him to come visit her. While on the other hand, Olivares receives a letter from the king, which states that his services are no longer required by the king. In the next scene, when Inigo goes to her house to take her, she comes out in a hurry to go with him. But when she thinks of marrying a court man, she dumps him and goes back to her room. While on the other side of Madrid, a friend of Diego tells him that they have arrested one of his friends, Don Francisco, after the removal of Olivares. The next moment, they go to a gambling club, where they are taken to a gambler who was holding Inigo to pay his debt. He asks Diego to pay for him if he wants him alive. He offers him the necklace, but he says they are not experts in the jewels. His friend, Sebastian, gives him his gold coins and they get Inigo free from him. After some time, Diego was walking to go to meet Maria again, but some soldiers from the palace stopped him. He was drunk and warned them of severe consequences if they try to stop him. He fights with his old friend from the palace, Martin, and overpowers him eventually. When he moves forward, he stops Don Luis but leaves him alive. He sends Malatesta to fight with him. Both of the warriors fought well, but this time, Malatesta defeats him and leaves him to die slowly. Maria soon emerges from the palace's walls and approaches Diego. She apologizes to him, telling him that she had no choice but to accompany the king and surround him in the palace. Don Luis and Guadalmedina enter the frame. Luis displays to him a document outlining his niece's storied expectations. His requests for silver mines enrage him, so he gets up. When he inquires about Alatriste's passing, he responds that he is still alive. While on the other hand, Alatriste goes to a hospital in Madrid and visits Maria. He gives her the necklace and says it was made for her. She confesses her love for him this time and says she should have married him. After that, he goes to see Angelica. He gives her a letter and requests her to give it to Olivares. He says it is about Inigo, who is in the galleys. She takes the letter and asks him to leave. When she weeps, he asks him to not, as Inigo is strong and he will survive. She says she must weep because betrayal is a stain that never ages. In the next scene, Diego meets Olivares when he receives the letter. It was about pardoning Inigo. He asks his favor to talk to the king to release him. At first, he ignores him, but he yells at Olivares, and he listens to him. Then, a guard arrives and grants Inigo permission to leave. Diego finds him on the shore of another region of Spain after they cast him into the water. In 1643, Inigo enlists in the king's army and fights alongside Diego in Rocroi. The regiment engages in combat with the Dutch. Against the wishes of his father Balboa, he enlists to the military. He valiantly engages the adversary with heavy weaponry. When the enemy overwhelms Diego, Sebastian, and Inigo, they fight the battle with spears. They flew the white flag of peace after a while. The Dutch soldier's representative commends their bravery and tactics. He claims to have arrived with an offer to accept their dignified surrender. Diego responds that although they are grateful for their remarks, this is a Spanish unit, and they will not give up. They return to their fighting formations. As they prepare to repel the enemy attack, Diego instructs Inigo to hold the flag firmly. The film concludes with the narration stating once more that Alatriste was a valiant man, but not the most devout or honest man. Thank you for watching.